Hey guys, it's Miss Linderman. So this week there are two types of problems that I put up for you guys to practice if you want. Um, the first one that I put up was a joining problem, and I just want you guys to be able to see the difference between a joining and a part-part total. So let's go through our three-read strategy. They're pretty similar. The only difference is the story problem itself. So let's go with our first read. What is the story about? So let's go ahead and read the story. There are 5 red birds and 8 blue birds in a nest. How many birds are in the nest altogether? So we know that our story is about birds. So I can go ahead and check off that first read. And now I can go to that second read to see what I'm trying to find out. There are 5 red birds and 8 blue birds in a nest. How many birds are in the nest altogether? So I'm trying to find out what the question is asking me. How many birds are in the nest altogether? So I can go ahead and check off my read 2 because I've done that one. And now my read 3 is what is the important information. So if I'm looking at it and I read it again, I'm going to think, what do I need to be able to figure out how many birds are in the nest? So it says there are 5 red birds and 8 blue birds in a nest. How many birds are in the nest altogether? So what I need to know is that there are 5 red birds, there are 8 blue birds, and that's going to help me to solve and figure out the total. So basically, with joining, you have two parts and you're trying to find the whole most of the time. Part total, which is what this problem is, you have both of your parts. You have part 1, which is your 5 red birds, and you have part 2, which is your 8 blue birds, and you're trying to find your total, which is how many altogether. So unlike joining, there's no action. Nothing was given, no more birds came, no birds left, like a separating problem, and we're not comparing. So this is an example of what a part-part total looks like. You have your two parts, you're trying to find your total. Nothing's really happening in the story problem. So just like any other one that we've done so far, I'm going to mark these out because these are for comparing, and I'm going to use my strip diagram to 20. So I'm going to do it and just match the colors. So I know that I have 5 red birds. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let me double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfect. And then in that same nest, I have 8 bluebirds. So I'm not crossing off anything, nobody's leaving, but I am adding. So it is similar to joining, except for the fact that nothing's being given. They're just in a nest together. So I have 8 blue ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let me double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to move down to the number sentence with a question mark. And with this one, we have both of our parts. And if we look at a number sentence, we think we have a part, we have another part. Oops, sorry guys. We have another part, and that brings us to our total. So that's where you get the part total from. Let me try to fix that P. Part total. So my two parts are that we have 5 birds. Oh my goodness. 5 birds. We have 5 red birds in a nest plus 8 blue birds in a nest. And we want to know how many are there together. So I have my two parts, I'm trying to find my total. And you can see it is very similar to joining. The only difference is how the story problem is worded. So now let's go ahead and do our solution. And what I'm going to do is what I did earlier, the counting on strategy. Instead of starting with 5 and counting up 8, I'm going to start with 8 and count up 5. So I know that there's 8 right here. So I'm going to start from there. So I'm going to start at 8. And then we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So our solution with our label would be 13 birds. So this is an example of a part-part total. Remember, the only difference between part-part total and joining and sometimes even separating is that part-part total, nothing is happening at all in the problem. There are just birds sitting in a nest. No birds flew away. No new birds came to join. So that's why we say there's no action happening. So this was our example of a part-part total. So remember, if you have any questions, please feel free to email your child's teacher. And I hope you guys are having a good week. Remember, these are optional, but it's definitely good practice for the summertime as well. Have a great week.